is yet another oil exploration which was flagged off by President Muhammadu Buhari. He did that virtually, and the discovery and the drilling of oil in Nasarawa state, which he says that will lead to greater prosperity for Nigerians as well as enhance overall energy security for the country. In the virtual message that the president delivered to the official spotting of the Ebenyi, a well located in the middle Benue Trough in Obi local government area of Nasarawa state, the president says that the surrounding communities will particularly benefit from the value created by the exploration and eventual production activities. Look, everyone, this is interesting, right? Because Nasarawa state, in fact, there are some communities in Nasarawa state that you think they are in the FCT. There are a lot of people working in Abuja that they are living in Nasarawa state. What does this benefit the nation generally? Is this a blessing or a curse, considering the kind of things that we saw in the Niger Delta region of the country? But let's hear what the President Muhammadu Buhari said at that event today.
I congratulate NNPC Limited, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, and other partners for their immense contribution towards making this day and this event possible. Furthermore, I am happy that the consequent positive outcomes of these drilling campaigns will lead to greater prosperity for our people and especially enhance overall energy security for our country. No doubt, the surrounding communities will particularly benefit from the value that will be created by the exploration and eventual production activities. I am also admonishing NNPC Limited and its partners to take due care of the environmental consequences of these oil exploration activities and to mitigate the negative effects.
President Muhammadu Buhari there in earlier today, the virtual flag off of the oil well and the official drilling and exploration of oil in Nasarawa state. Let's get to understand what this means, because sometimes some of these things are not really pretty straightforward. The governor of Nasarawa state joins us live from Lafia, the capital of Nasarawa state. Engineer Abdullah Sule is live with us on the program tonight. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight. And congratulations on these. This, I guess, should be a blessing for the people of Nasarawa state. But let me begin. Frank conversation that we need to have about this, because a lot of the times when you see potential economic boom for the people, it turns out that it's not well utilized. But let me begin by asking, for many indigenes of the Niger Delta, the discovery and subsequent exploration of oil cannot be described as a blessing. The environment has been degraded and livelihoods lost. Is there any guarantee that your people of Nasarawa state will not be exposed to a similar predicament?
Well, thank you very much, Sheun. I thank you for having me on this program again today. As you have seen, has been a very, very busy day for us. But first and foremost, before I even go into answering your questions, let us thank the Almighty God for giving us this opportunity to witness a day like this in Nasarawa State. Secondly, let me thank Mr. President and the management of the NNPC for their resilience, their commitment in ensuring that this activity actually comes to a reality today. Now, going back to your question, if I can just answer it, you have to understand that we are doing it from the point of knowledge now, not guessing. What has happened in the Niger Delta started from Olibiri, in the 60s. So at the time, the technology we have today was not there. At the time that we are talking about, the type of commitment we have was not there. The kind of population of the people around was not there. And most of the activities were taking place in what you call swamp areas. Now in Nasarawa State, we don't have these swamp areas. That is number one. Number two, the NMPC has come out with a new method of approaching this oil production. Where this is happening, there is no water close to it. It is purely an onshore operation. Secondly, it is going to be what we call an integrated field development, which means right there where this formation at the hydrocarbons is found, the drilling activity will take place, the refining activity will take place, the production of fertilizer will take place, the power production will take place, so it is all in one. Therefore, it is just surrounding that area. There will not be pipelines going into various communities that are going to cause environmental concerns to the people. That is one. Two, in the Niger Delta, majority of the gas that was being produced in the past was being flared until the federal government came with a policy that said gas flaring, there was penalty for it. And that's why you now have the LNG, the LPG, and all what have you. So it's the same system today we have. Where this oil will be produced, all the gas production will take place, but in reality, from the gas will produce, you have to understand, some of us are actually coming from the oil industry also, so we are talking about it from the point of knowledge of what is happening in the industry today. So it is no longer going to be as usual. However, we can say all the nice things. At the end of the day, if they are not being purely followed, they can still cause a lot of environmental degradation. So that is the reason why we are taking every one of those steps to ensure, and I think you heard from what Mr. President also said, his warning that we should ensure that this production from the Ebenyi A does not affect the environment negatively. So I think in a nutshell, maybe that's what the way I can answer it. Otherwise, if I talk about oil, I can take another 30 minutes just explaining the operation there.
So it then means one thing, and perhaps let's just look at, because I have a long list of questions for you, and I'd like us to really tackle them as brief and as fast as we can. So first and foremost, what is the volume of exploration that we're looking at? In layman's terms, how large or how small is it compared to some other parts of the country?
Okay, I was standing right next to, the oil and gas assets are usually not disclosed. They try as much as possible, to keep it to their chest. But let me answer it to you this way. By the time we went to Kolmani and Gobe, the NMPC disclosed that there is about 1 billion barrels of oil at the Kolmani. From what we have seen, since the year 2010, when the hydrocarbons participation formation is known somewhere in Kiana in Nasarawa State, it was an excellent formation. Then the displacement actually moved to a place called Obi, where you said it's a different local government altogether, but next to it, where the Ebenyi A is actually being drilled. So from these two fields, and what we had, these two fields together are better than Kolmani in volume. That's the best I can answer to you without actually working against their confidentiality, because I can't disclose the quantity of hydrocarbons that is found there. Remember, this is our first well. But from the seismic acquisition that has been processed and actually interpreted so far, from what we have seen, the quantity that we found in Nasarawa State today is actually higher than what we have in Kolmani.
So it's right to say that Nasarawa State is now an oil-producing state. Is that right?
It's already declared today. If you listen to the statement by the representative of the Minister of State of Petroleum, he mentioned that Nasarawa State can now actually participate in some of the activities of the PTDF and the Nigerian Content Development Association. Remember, this oil is not for Nasarawa State. I keep correcting some of my friends who keep mentioning about Nasarawa State. This oil belongs to Nigeria. So Nasarawa State is just where the oil is found, but this oil belongs to Nigeria, and whatever is there belongs to the Federation account. So we are just the custodians of the assets, and that's the way it is everywhere.
So again, when would we see a possibility of an exact product coming out of Nasarawa State in terms of the actual production?
Actual production could happen in not a distant time, because the way it goes is today, this well we are drilling today, that commenced drilling today, where you saw the rig, is actually called an exploration well. After the exploration well, the process is for an appraisal well to be drilled, where the hydrocarbons that is found will actually go through that process. After that, they will now come up with what we call development program. In the development program, they will indicate how many wells will be drilled, because it may not be just one well where the production from that same formation will actually be coming. So it may come from about 3, 4, 5, 6 wells, that will be there. So based on that, you can say in a nutshell, if everything is put together, from my own experience of what I have seen in the US similar to this, you can say that in the next 2 years, then we can begin to think about the oil. But remember, this is an integrated field development, which means there is going to be a refinery on the side. So the production of the oil is not the end of the story. The kind of refinery that will be built there is the next thing. Is it going to be skid-mounted refinery? Is it going to be a movable refinery? So we have to also sit down and go through that and agree together. Those are the kinds of things that will happen. So oil itself, it won't take you much time. The oil will be dry. You can see it. The next is going to be, and by the way, the oil, for your information, most likely from what we are seeing, is going to be another oil similar to Niger Delta, which means sweet crude. That's what we are thinking.
But that sounds good. So for the people of Nasarawa State, they might also be benefiting from the 13% derivation, isn't it?
Well, I think it's the law, Sheun. So, by that time, you can also transfer to Nasarawa State and begin to benefit from the 13%.
That's going to be interesting. But, if you ask me, I'm not probably very excited, considering when we talk about natural resources and how rich some nations of the world are in terms of natural resources. For example, you find out that the Democratic Republic of Congo is probably one of the wealthiest countries of the world in terms of natural resources. For every mobile phones that you find, they have you have coltan or cobalt that is contained in it, and is largely found. In fact, he said a larger percentage of that material found in every mobile phone is that product, the raw material, is found in that country. But that country is one of the poorest in the world. Nasarawa State has enormous marble under the ground also. So in the real sense of it, your people might be stepping on their feet, enormous natural resources. But the question is, what does this amount to on the food on their table and the monies in their pocket? That is the bottom line. That is when anybody should be happy. So what is your plan as a leader of the state, as a governor of the state? What does this transmit to in the livelihoods of your people?
Well, it transmits to a lot, Sheun, and personally, I feel delighted because of the little experience I have around the world on this. I'm very familiar with what happened in Angola. I'm very familiar also with what happened in the Congo, because I work in an oil and gas industry in the US that gave me the opportunity to see this. I'm very familiar with the Poltava region in Ukraine, what has happened there and what is happening there. So it is the issue to take in from, we can't reinvent the wheel. We just have to take it from one point to another and see exactly how this will work. Now, coming back to your question, how does this benefit the people of Nasarawa State? Right now, as I'm talking to you, when we went to the site today, my excitement was to see that on top of that rig is actually people from youth from Nasarawa State that had been employed already by the company that are working. So they are not just gaining employment, they are gaining the experience. These are people who have never seen an oil and gas operation before. Today they are working on a rig. So they are getting the trend, they are getting experience, and we are getting the advantage that I'm saying about the economic empowerment that is there. Today there are roads that have already been on site, being constructed. That is actually bringing development to the area. We are beginning to see more people who are coming to the site. More people means more benefits actually for the opportunities that we are seeing in the area. Today, so these are all the line of things that will happen. You know, everything in life has its own up and down. So of course, oil and gas operation has its own disadvantages, like you mentioned. But for us, we try as much as possible to see how we can utilize them. You mentioned about Nasarawa State being a state where a lot of minerals were found. Before we came, you know, we had a lot of barite in Nasarawa State. We have a lot of tantalite in Nasarawa State. We have even the cobalt that you mentioned in Nasarawa State. And then I came and met a situation where our marble was being taken from the quarry row out of Nasarawa State to be processed. Today, we are processing all the marble in Nasarawa State. And you can tell, actually, if you go to the airport in Abuja and the airport in Lagos, the marble that you work on at the new terminals, those marbles are actually from Nasarawa State. You know, so that is the kind of thing that we are beginning to see.
So,
the
Governor Sule,
that is happening.
Yeah. So yes. Apologies. So I'm going to ask you, because I'm not from Nasarawa State, but tonight as a journalist, I'm asking the question for the benefit of the people of your state and generally in Nigeria, those who believe that if you have natural resources, and even if you cannot directly benefit 100% from what the products that are gotten out of it, you must at least have in terms of jobs creation, because I was going to ask you for the extent to which the citizens of Nasarawa State will be involved in the oil and gas ecosystem. But is there a policy that you are going into to ensure, because if you have all of this chain in Nasarawa State, you shouldn't find any Nasarawa citizen or resident being jobless. There will be thousands of jobs that will be provided. Are you thinking about policy? If you are, what exactly are those?
Well, just because you have an oil discovery doesn't mean everybody in the state will be employed. It doesn't work that way. Not even in Saudi Arabia, you know, where they are onshore operations, they are producing about 7 million barrels per day. Not everybody is employed, and they don't have 10% of the population of Nigeria. So now the issue that I'm telling you about is not necessarily just because of employment. You know, there is a value chain that is going to come along. There is one employee that will be there, and then that employee will also attract so many other employment, you know, and so whatever derivation we are going to get, it will be for the benefit of Nasarawa State. It will go back and invest into our youth, into our women, into the state. You know, that is for sure. That one I will tell you clearly. This is what is going to happen. And we have been doing that with the little resources that we are getting at the moment. We can only do it better when we have more resources. You know, so, and we have been participating in so many PPP arrangements. Just 3 days ago or 4 days ago, I went and signed an agreement with the new UK NIAD. You know, it's a PPP arrangement where they will come in and invest in certain areas 85%, and Nasarawa State will invest 15%. You see, if we have the resources, I will increase our equity participation from 15 to say we are going to 50. You know, and those are the kind of benefits I think that will come. So I think one is for us to...
So because the question again will be, you said that you got into Nasarawa State meeting the IGR at about 7 billion or so, and you've increased it to over 20 billion. So in terms of numbers, how much of increase can you, or revenue can you generate, and what numbers are you working with?
No, I think for now, if you do, it will be jumping the gun. Number one, the first question you will ask is that what is going to be the production, how many barrels per day? Is it going to be 100,000 barrels per day? Is it going to be 50,000 barrels per day? Then we can do our calculation from there. That is one. Two, 13% derivation is a factor of the price of oil. Are we selling it at $100 per barrel? Is it 160? Is it 90? Or is it the 25, 27 that President Muhammadu Buhari made in the year 2014, 2015? So these are the kinds of things. So if you go and start budgeting for something that you don't even have all the indices yet, I think it's a mistake.
All right.
And I don't think we will make that kind of mistake.
Quickly, Mr. Governor, I have just a lot of questions, but just quickly, let's tackle them. In many oil-producing states, we have seen very high levels of income inequality. A few people become extremely rich, while majority are very poor. The benefits are being very uneven in most of these communities. How will you ensure an equitable distribution of the benefits of being an oil-producing state?
One of the things, by the grace of God, that we are trying to do here in Nasarawa State, we are not very rich, therefore big money is not going to scare us for people to start going in that direction. First thing that I said we are going to do from next week, we are going to set up a committee of people from Nasarawa State who are going to be the ones, who will constitute the force that will implement all our plans as far as the oil and gas is concerned. Then we will engage a consultant who is very familiar with this. So that is on one side. Secondly, we'll ask the investors of this field. Let me say ask, because we are not forcing anybody. We'll ask them to make sure they engage the Nasarawa State. That's why I mentioned earlier to you that Nasarawa State can now, from what we are told, participate in what is happening at the Nigerian content development operation. So Nasarawa State can participate in some of these small oil services that are there. Is it drilling fluid? Is it production chemicals? Is it, so Nasarawa State will be provided with the knowledge to be able to do that. Those are the kinds of things that I know the people of Nasarawa State will benefit.
I wish the people of Nasarawa State the very best, because also I'll be interested in knowing the incentivization to promote economic inclusion in local economy, how this will benefit. But I guess you've mentioned a few of that. But that's another thing to chew on, Governor Sule. But we are totally out of time, and I have just two political questions for you, because on this program yesterday we had a PDP governorship candidate. And earlier in the morning today, on our morning show, we had one of the PDP chieftains, a former Minister of Information. But there are a few things I'd like you to clarify and tell Nigerians why this is happening. First is the fact that it does look that there are a lot of anger towards your victory and your emergence as your re-election as governor of Nasarawa State. There are half-naked women that have gone to the streets of Nasarawa State unhappy and protesting your victory. These pictures have gone far and wide, and your opponents are saying these stamp the fact that your election was fraudulent. That is how your opponents describe it, and they have alleged that you rigged your way back into power.
Well, Sheun, you are dealing with people that have never ever lost election. As far as they are concerned, every time they lose is because of rigging. In Nasarawa State, at the last election we had for the governorship, in fact, let us start with the presidential election, where I was the state coordinator of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We lost the election to even a party that we didn't anticipate, to Labour Party. Nobody rigged that. We allowed that to happen. Because with the Beavers, I didn't even know how to rig. That is number one. Two, in the governorship election, the same governorship election, the PDP won 6 out of our 130 local government councils. They won 6. We won 7. As far as they are concerned, all the 6 they won were clean. All the 7 we won were rigged. People cannot live like that. Now, it didn't happen just at this last election. I didn't watch the program last night because we were preparing for the oil operation today with the management of NMPC in my house. So I didn't watch the last night program, but I saw part of today's program by the former minister you mentioned. Now, this is the former minister who, as far as he's concerned, he lost election in 2007. It's like Nasarawa State was going to come to an end. They were the people that put bonfires on the way, shut down the roads, beating anybody who was crossing all over Nasarawa that time. They lost election 2011. It was similar. In 2015, he said he was rigged. In 2019, he was rigged. So are you surprised that the same people are now saying that in 2023 they are rigged? And in 2027, when they are defeated again, they will be rigged. So as far as they are concerned, every time they lose election, they have been rigged. But all the ones they won in the 13 if we have won all the 13 local government areas, then you can say, okay, something is wrong. But these are people who have won 6.
Governor, isn't something wrong when you find elderly women of Nasarawa going naked on the streets of the state? Isn't that an extreme way of expressing their displeasure at your victory?
And And that is very unfortunate. That is sad. That is not in line with our culture of Nasarawa state. And from what we saw, most of those women, we have never even seen them. Most of those women. So the people who are sending them to protest, if it is true that this is in protest of our win, this will be happening simultaneously in all our 30 local government areas. Not some 100 women will go naked in one local government. Tomorrow you will move them to another local government. Next tomorrow you will move them to another local government. If we had stopped them, they will say freedom of speech. We have stopped them. If we had allowed them, look at the way they were going. Is it only these 100 women that voted for PDP that are worried? How about all the majority of the people that
Well, I thought that was because
the
PDP candidate said yesterday, I don't know how true that is. I tried to find out whether or not he said you lost your polling unit, you lost your ward, and that you are very unpopular on the ground, but I'm not certain about the figures.
This is a guy I beat in the year 2019. In the year 2019, I got 338,000 votes. He got 182,000. So I beat him in 2019. He's beaten again now in this. So was I unpopular in 2019
also? Or did you lose your polling unit and your ward, Governor? Did you lose your polling unit?
There is no way I will. This is very unfortunate that somebody who wants to be a governor doesn't even know what is happening in the state. In fact, in my own polling unit, he got 4 votes. So how am I losing the vote? These are public information. In my own polling unit, I was told that he said, big contradiction, that he said when I was losing my polling unit, that we brought some talks, they destroyed the ballot papers. Then he said he defeated me in the polling unit. At my polling unit, there was no problem at my polling unit. It was counted.
All right, Governor, we need to go now. We're totally out of time.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is also what is happening, and it's been described as anti-democratic and lawless. That under your watch, peaceful protesters have been asked to stay off the street to protest. And this is what is being described as the fundamental right of the citizen, of any citizen in this country. How would the police ban protesters who are legitimately going about protesting their rights on what they believe that it is on the election outcome, it is not real? How do you describe it for those human rights activists who say this is undemocratic?
Shaun, this is a question for the police. But let me tell you, as far as we are concerned, these people have gone like this for one week. Okay? Moving from one village, they are being paid some little tokens. They just brought some people, vulnerable old women from the villages, paying them 1,500, 2,000 naira a day to be carrying out this shame all over the place. They are not bringing their own wives. They are not bringing their own sisters. They are not bringing, we have 147 wards in Nasarawa state. Let them bring all the wards, the women leaders from every ward to come.
But Governor, I'm asking you because you are the chief security officer of the land, and if people's rights are being trampled, because there are those who have gone to court to say that no citizen can be stopped from a peaceful protest. But the question is, under your watch, how would protesters not be allowed to protest?
The protesters have been protesting under my watch.
But there has been a ban.
Me even getting close to them?
But there has been a ban on the protest.
Well, that's for the police. Well, then you talk to the police.
But you are the chief security officer of the state.
Why are they banning?
But you are the chief security officer of the state. I don't have
police. Yes, but the police are not under me. The police are, you may ask the Inspector General of Police for doing that. The police are not under me. The police have the right to cause a security risk. You see, what has happened is that the police have been working every day trying to stop the other protesters, who are going to fight these women, to say that this is not in line with our culture, this is not in line with our religion. So based on that, if police decide to do that, you can ask the CP of police or the IG of police.
Yeah. Governor Abdullah
It's not the state government that stopped them.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Governor Abdullah Sule, for your time tonight. I appreciate your interventions.
Thank you so much, Shaun. It's unfortunate. I really didn't want to join issues with these guys because I don't take them so serious, but I came to discuss oil, but unfortunately you brought that up. But
there are controversies, and I wanted you to say it by yourself that you did not lose your word, because it's between you and your opponent, your politicians. No one can get in between you guys. And so we'll let you allow you to clarify your things yourself. Thank you so much indeed for your time.
let him come to my ward 20 times he will be defeated in my ward.
Thank you so much.
20 times he will be defeated in my ward. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.